The President of the United States.
Fellow Americans, it is my sad duty to officially announce that the Reverend is dead.
The Reverend's not dead. Now it looks like he's got the President in his back pocket, too.
And let us not rest until the criminal responsible for his death is torn limb from limb.
Okay, that's bad. Need to find somewhere to lie low for a while. I know just the place. I'm gonna pay a little visit on my ex. Only my Mary could be warped enough to put a club in the middle of a cemetery.
Greetings, I'm Solidus-Skully and welcome back to the Apocalypse Commentary. Today we enter Dead and Buried, a nightclub that's centered in a graveyard. That's a very odd choice, but oddly appropriate considering that we are still in the season of the spook. Whatever. In any case, new aesthetics, new things to see and do. Same old shit, basically. Shoot and kill, except now we also have to contend with zombies, which really does make you wonder what kind of future we're living in. I mean, are these chemical mutants, or is it to do with science, or is it to do with religion? Who knows? Maybe we could all die and find out for ourselves as we haunt the graveyard. Yeah, and as you can tell, the quotes that are reused are not really level specific, because Bruce Willis is expensive. Well, I mean, at least he was back then. I don't really know what he fetches for nowadays, but yeah. Yeah. Again, like, I mean, you're basically just making your way towards the nightclub, and it actually does that thing that I said the level should do previously, where you start off at one point of the level, and you end at another, which leads into the next level, which will be a boss fight. In fact, we have two of them this part, so, yippee-yo, ka-yay, motherfucker. In terms of anything else, like, I mean, I will say that the game does change up its aesthetics. It does change up its aesthetics enough to keep, like, variety in terms of things, but I mean, apart from that, there's just not really much that you can do to keep people, well, again, like, I mean, I will say that it is more fun to play than it is to watch, but with that being said, I get the impression that the original game that Activision had in mind was probably a little bit more, involved, because, I mean, Neversoft did have to scale this game back quite significantly, which brings to mind, like, that maybe this game had a little bit more to it in terms of its gameplay, like, in terms of what we were going to be doing. Like, maybe we would have had, like, in-between segments of the levels, like, in part 1, like, when you saw Trey riding that hover speeder kind of thing. Or, like, maybe there was going to be some, more involved, like, boss fights or something like that. I can't really say for certain, but, I mean, it would have been interesting to see that happen. Also, where did I hear that, I think it might have been Resident Evil, where they got the dog sound effects from. Well, then again, they probably got it from a generic sound pack, but still. But again, enemies don't really change up tactics too much, and again, what you see is what you get, so, well, I suppose to that effect, I might as well just talk about a little something else. And that would be in terms of, what the specific problems were with the Activision version of the game. And I guess, aside from some possibly extraneous game modes that would have been there for the sake of variety, one issue that Activision, Santa Monica, which I believe was the team who was working on it, one issue they particularly faced was, the fact that a lot of the hardware was pushing the PS1 to its limits. And, you know, to that effect, I'm starting to wonder, like, unless there was some sort of exclusivity deal that, nobody brought up, why didn't they end up porting this over to something like a PC or the Dreamcast, perhaps? I mean, the Dreamcast was a year off, but I mean, they probably could have held off release for at least another year until they at least refined the game a little bit better and, I guess, ported it to the next console? I mean, like, I guess we could assume that the development cycle for this game began in, like, 1997, perhaps, then I don't know, it just seems kind of bizarre that they didn't at least wait until something a little bit more powerful came along that could run Apocalypse and its hellacious game engine. Oh no, it is the zombies with the brains and the whatever. I will say that I am a pretty big sucker for horrors. I will say that I am a pretty big sucker for the horror aesthetics going on this level, and it's so, I don't know, it just really gels with me, man. And again, it's also helped by the fact that this is a much shorter level than the previous one, which is also pretty nice, but it's also doubled up by another lengthy beefer, so look forward to that. But I suppose there will be a little bit more for me to talk about after the upcoming cutscene, and I guess also more ramblings and dissertations about the mythology of this game, which is haphazard, but again, there is a point to this, and we'll be seeing that quite soon.
Bring it on, baby.
Oh yeah, I'm Bruce Willis. Respect yourself. Which I guess is also something interesting to bring up, at least in regards to Bruce Willis, that he actually had a sort of a music career, like before Die Hard revitalized his acting career. It is quite bizarre, but I mean, yeah. Bruce Willis teaching everybody to respect yourself. Yeah, 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 yeah. Anyway, we finally reached the Dead and Buried nightclub, which, kind of surprised it doesn't have as many guests going in as it is, because, like, I mean, do they have to deal with the zombies like Trey is? I mean, I'm pretty sure they aren't armed to the teeth with machine guns. Well, maybe they are. We don't know what this society deals with on a daily basis. Anyway, let's pay a visit.
Sounds like she's near the end of her set. I just hope she's not still pissed.
Trey Kincaid. I'll be damned. Was it you who crashed the chopper out?
That's not a chopper, baby. It's a hover bike.
Never could keep your stick straight, could you?
I'm sorry we haven't hooked up lately, baby, but I've been playing dead.
I've missed you too much to be angry. My body becomes warm when I think of your flesh shredded
Oh,
and
baby,
devoured
not
by
you
my
too.
viruses. Oh, yeah, I missed you. Give Money a kiss before she face.
Yep, she's still pissed.
Oh, baby, punish me. I've been a bad.
Well then, that's, interesting, but yeah, this is the boss fight against, Plague. Or, as she's known in this, Mary Magdalene. I am not kidding, unless, of course, IMDb proves me wrong, but then again, I don't think there's much material about this game anyway, so fuck it. And yes, they make full use of that, FMV technology for the game by broadcasting this music video, and of course having the license track as the song itself, which I'm kinda saddened I didn't do for the rest of the bosses, but then again, I think only Gear Whore or System of Down would have really fit in terms of having a more intense tone, so, who knows. And I will say that Plague does actually have a decent, a decent roster of attacks to keep you on your toes, so this does become one of the better boss fights in the game, as well as the one we're going to be seeing at the end of the part, so, good on them. Again, she'll leave puddles of toxic goop all around the floor, she'll try and slash at you. So again, just keep your distance and fire away. Again, boss fights are really short in this game, but I mean, for the time that you have them, they're reasonably fun. And of course they explode into this colourful particle effect thing, which is pretty. Anyway, I'm gonna take a drink of the Pepsi, and you dudes and dudettes can enjoy the cuts.
Never seen this trick before. These freaks are grafted to the latest generation of bang stick.
What's going on out there?
Candygram!
Well, praise the Lord and pass the ammunition.
Freeze, Rafer!
War sells, baby, and I'm selling to the President of the US of A.
Damn! He's heading for the factory floor.
And now we enter what is, honest to God, what would have been a cool level in my eyes, but one that drags itself out a little bit too long, which, again, I think is ultimately the game's biggest problem. It tries to pad itself out way too long without really doing much to spice things up. And again, a lot of your enemies here are just robots, and you just get a lot of grey corridors, and, like again, I'll say, compared to every other level in the game, this one is the one that feels the most video gamey, which is really saying something, but again, I will say that it's okay, but again, I do have a few talking points before we divulge off into random whatever the fuck. Again, this is one that I do believe was also in the original Activision version, and, well, flows a lot better here than it does there. And, yeah, it's fun enough as a level, just pads itself out for a bit too long. And it's supposed to talk about a story context, like in terms of, you know, Trey's girlfriend Mary, and I guess even Larry himself. Like, again, this seems to imply that the Reverend was specifically targeting people close to Trey, or at least insofar as people who could easily kill him if he went to them for help, so, like, I mean, was there anything specific about Mary, or Larry that the Reverend would have wanted, because, I mean, he is meant to be dead at this point, which he obviously isn't. But, like, I mean, I don't really see what possible advantage they could have, or what their purpose would have been. Like, would it have been to keep the people in line? Because, like, I mean, with the existence of the President, like, it seems like he was just more, like, the Reverend himself was just more of a figure that was in bed with, like, a lot of political powers, but to what extent that is, we have to speculate. And I mean, these are the questions that I think are kind of important to answer, and the game just doesn't really do that, so ultimately I'm just sort of left disappointed at how underdeveloped and all that sort of thing this future is, man. So, like, what am I really left to take away from all this, other than the fact that it's just sort of random fighting and hellish explosions and shit? Like, I mean, it makes for a fun video game in the gamey kind of sense, but, like, everything else is just kind of, eh. And I mean, I suppose if I could talk about anything else, it's also with the military-industrial complex of the future, like the production of weapons at the war factory, and the fact that, you know, Rafer, I think his name is meant to be in bed with the Reverend and the President of the United States, which is a bit of an upcoming plot point and is also the final boss of the game, so look forward to that. Again, what it exactly means, what impact this has on the rest of the world, if there even is a rest of the world, like if it's operating on Total Recall 2012 logic or some shit, I have no idea, so yeah, it's just lacking in a lot of context and it's just kind of disappointing. Yeah, I want some context, Mr. Willis, you know, bada bing bang boom, you know, you're gonna give me some stuff. Anyway, I'm gonna ramble off on a bunch of random Bruce Willis topics, for what few I found actually interesting. The first one of which is that I was actually kind of surprised to learn that he was actually born in Germany. Like, I think his mother was German and father was American-born, so, yeah, interesting. I think he was also made an ambassador, if I remember correctly, so, yeah, that was kind of surprising. And also another surprising thing in terms of, action movie trivia is that he was also initially considered to play Kyle Reese in, Terminator. Which would have been quite interesting to see how that would have happened, but, I mean, not that I dislike Michael Biehn's performance in that movie, but a Bruce Willis-led Terminator movie would have been sick, man. Or at the very least, for at the time anyway. I think he possibly could have pulled it off, but sadly we'll never know. I mean, this is also kind of weird, well, I suppose considering how many careers that movie made, and, well, the fact that it could have possibly made Bruce Willis's career as well. Well, then again, I suppose Michael Biehn didn't really take off that much in terms of his career, so I guess he was the one that probably suffered the most out of that. Either that or Edward Furlong, but I think the less said about that, the better. I guess also, again, to divulge once more into Terminator, again, this might be a little bit more well-known trivia, but apparently that O.J. Simpson was once considered to play the Terminator, who was only rejected because the producers, I think, at the time thought that he was too nice. And, well, for those of you who know your real-world history, yeah, awkwardness, rising. But again, I mean, expunge tangents as I will, this is basically all you have to look forward to. Video game man does video game things with stuff. I will say, I do quite like the soundtrack here, actually. It's all very, you know, heavy, very thudding and industrial. And especially the boss theme that you're going to be hearing right at the end of the part, actually, is actually pretty fucking sick. And I suppose if we could further divulge on the soundtrack, like, I mean, the loops, again, I don't know if this was a thing, like, if they planned to port it to the N64 or something, but a lot of the soundtrack loops are, like, very short, like, 1 minute, and again, I don't know if that was to save on, like, disk space, or that was just the nature of the compression, and they couldn't really have, like, full-fledged songs in the game aside from the 1 minute. Because, like, I mean, even some of the licensed tracks that they do have, they aren't the full versions, like, they're just very edited and cut down, actually, which is quite noticeable with the System of a Down song War. Which was included in the game, because, like, I mean, that also uses, like, the intro from the music video, which I think uses, like, the demo version of War compared to the one that would appear on the album, whereas this game also uses a mixture between the opening, which, you know, has, like, a little bit of a spiel from Serge Tankian before eventually divulging into, you know, the track that you hear on the album, which is completely silent, and then has, you know, I guess better recorded guitars compared to the demo version. Again, it's really weird, but, like, I mean, I think it does kind of go to show the very patchwork nature of what they had to work with this game. And, it's kind of amusing to me, really. And, like, I mean, I guess maybe because a lot of this future is also tended to by robots, I guess. Like, I mean, do people work here? Do they just have to jump through all this shit? And I suppose this is what I really mean with the fact that a lot of the designs were made with video game shit in mind. I don't know. I mean, it's not a point of complaint, mind you, it's just a really interesting choice of developing things. And again, like, I mean, it does make me curious to know, like, I mean, is this planet falling apart, or, like, is this something people are worried about and only the Reverend can save them? Or at least, allegedly from what he promises the humans? I don't know, and, like, I don't really seem to be saying anything to the contrary, so, like, I mean, was Bruce Willis, like, trying to develop a better future for people? Like, you know, when he was still a scientist and not a one-man army kind of dude, so who knows? I suppose, oh man, that's about all I have to say. In terms of anything else, this level is basically just kind of patchwork and dull from this point forth. So I suppose in the meantime, I as well divulge in some games that came out recently, which at this point aren't really much besides Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, which I haven't played yet. Can't really think of anything else, to be perfectly honest. Well, I suppose the fact that the DMC Devil May Cry Virgil's Downfall review might be coming out around this point, or hopefully is already released, because been having some internet troubles recently, and well, that's been part of the reason for the delay, and also the fact that I'm also editing the Silent Hill 4 review right alongside it, so again, it's a production style that I hope to God works, and if it doesn't, well then I will just jump into a pool of lava and burn up on entry. So I swear to God, like, a lot of the level design feels very Doom-inspired. Like, I mean, I remember this, sort of thing specifically, I think it was, like, in Doom 2, I think? Or it might have been the original. But again, I think Doom might have been a very big influence into how this game was designed in terms of its run-and-gun sort of gameplay. Because, like, I mean, you can still see it in a lot of places, especially towards the end where you have something labeled Exit, which, again, like, feels very basic video game design 101, but I don't know, like, I mean, it's a style that I think really does work well for this game. Even if some levels are a bit longer than others and kind of draw. And again, I don't mean to say that in the most negative way possible, because I mean, as I keep on repeating, it's very fun to play, and like, I mean, when you're in the action and trying to deal with all this kind of stuff, it is fun in the heat of the moment. I just think that some designs just needed a little bit more spice and oomph to really sustain that kind of thing. Because, like, I mean, there is something I've also noticed with a few video game levels, like, even though the game is fun, when it starts to pat itself out, like, I mean, you can still tell that it's fun, you still enjoy playing the game. But, like, mentally you feel a little bit drained and you just want the level to end, and, I think this game does kind of skirt on that a little bit. Again, I don't really know whether it's a good thing or necessarily a bad thing, but I mean, there is just something to be said about levels that, I guess, hit the just right quality about certain things, so... I guess that's something to do a little bit more research into insofar as game design is concerned. Or at least what it takes to really keep people enthralled the whole way through and keep them energized and stimulated. Very stimulating. See? That right there. Very, Doom-esque, one might say.
You can run, but you can't hide. Ka-boom! I think it's time to get ready for war. Praise be to the Lord, my rock, who trains my hands for war, my fingers for battle.
It's hero time.
Oh yeah, it's hero time. And this boss fight is actually pretty fun. Like, I mean, you start off having to destroy the, well, basically everybody just kind of shooting at you. And also, like, I mean, if Trey could take down, like, an entire ship like that, why didn't he have, like, any more of those bombs to... no, whatever. But yeah, this is actually a pretty fun fight, because it's actually doing a little bit more than most. Like, I mean, you start off fighting War as a normal-sized dude, you know, he has a few attacks, he'll try and slash you, fire out his missiles, and unleash his payload upon you, but, well, this does come to your cost, because, let's just say War is, gonna bring the thunder down upon you. Like, again, I really like this fight. The music is great, the tension is excellent, and the fact that it... yeah, we're seeing it right here as he, grows in size. And basically you have to run away and make sure that he doesn't hit you.
I said run!
Well, you heard the man, he said run. Yes, you watching the fucking video right now, leave and start running because war will find you and eat you. But I mean, on a serious note though, like, seriously man, this fight is epic as fuck, and like, I think maybe had the game been given a little bit more time to really develop things, it probably would have had a few more inventive boss concepts. Like, I mean, I would have loved to have seen something sick done like this to, you know, to the boss fight with death and all that kind of stuff, you know? And yeah, you basically gotta stop him by shooting the things, otherwise, well, bad things will happen to you. Again, just zigzag from side to side, you know, hit the barrels when necessary. Bada bing, you do the thing, and war will, I don't know, be resolved peacefully. As in, he rests in peace. Want to die. But I mean, yeah, dude, like, seriously, like, this boss fight just has a really nice level of escalation, and, it's great. And, for such a droll segment, I'm glad it ends on a high note. So on that note, I'm Solidus-Skully, keep new metal, and next time on the Apocalypse Commentary, we reach in the final part where we take down the threat forever. Or will we?